So, hello everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our online lectures. The first session. Okay, so we welcome you. It's a great pleasure that you all are here in the first cycle of our online lecture series. As you already know, it's an initiative that is a collaboration with the School of Architecture. Yes, from Democritus University of Thrace and the ArScAn laboratory, Archéologies et Sciences de l'Antiquité in Nanterre in France. So we are all over Europe this afternoon. And we are honored to bring distinguished lecturers, speakers from Greece, France, Bulgaria, Turkey, and the wider region of the Balkans in these online sessions. And we bring all these people together for a scientific dialogue and interdisciplinary interchanges and exchanges. So we sincerely thank you all, the participants and the attendees, for being here today and supporting this endeavor. So a few words about the series. It's about exploring the relationship between place and the human activity. Through this approach, which is interdisciplinary and collaborative, we seek to emphasize that inhabitation and construction are not merely technical processes, but they are acts of expressing local identity and capturing the unique character of each place. So our common ground extends from the Balkans to the Eastern Mediterranean, embracing a rich and diverse cultural landscape. So once again, we thank you all for being here today and hoping that new knowledge comes out, emerges from these dialogues. So today, our first lecturer is Dr. Architect Miryana IORDANOVA. She comes from Sofia in Bulgaria. Dr. IORDANOVA is the author of the book Traditional Residential Architecture in Bulgaria, 17th to 18th centuries, as well as of numerous articles and studies, including Jewish historical monuments, places, and space in traditional architecture in Bulgaria. She has taught urban and spatial planning, history and theory of town planning, cultural heritage preservation, and architectural design at the New Bulgarian University since 2005. So she has professional experience at the National Center for Territorial Development in Sofia and is also specialized in the cultural heritage of the Middle Ages in Bulgaria and the Balkans. So we sincerely thank her for being here today with us, and we look forward for her lecture and the insights she will share with us. Thank you very much, Dr. IORDANOVA, for being here with us. And maybe we can start our first lecture. Good luck and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Katerina. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, having the privilege of being the first presenter at this authoritative forum dialogues is an extraordinary challenge for me. Thank you for being among you. My heartfelt thanks to Zoe Cirzoni, Research Director of CNRS, to Katerina, Assistant Professor of School of Architecture of Democritus University, to Peter Petrov and Svetoslava Andreychin from the New Bulgarian University, who involved me in this beautiful scientific adventure. I will start with a reservation that regardless of the title of this study, the presentation and reproduction of the architectural and cultural tradition of the place, we inevitably judge in the following century due to the fragility of the building structures, historical and natural vicissitudes, and cataclysms. On the other hand, tradition is a living process that does not interrupt with the political and military reshaping of the territories of the place. Tradition is continuing dialogues between past and present. What meaning do I put into a concept of place? The place is geographically location, and on the other hand, it is a cultural community. As a geographical region, this is the Mediterranean Europe, including all these countries and regions like Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, Greece, Italy, Montenegro, North Macedonia, etc. The focus of this study, and specifically defined as the place, is the Balkan Peninsula. The Mediterranean region, as a cultural community, is the cultures and peoples of the Mediterranean basin with common roots and connections in the origin and development of the Phoenician, Jewish, Greek, Persian, Illyrian, Thracian, Roman, Byzantine, Bulgarian, Christian, Islamic, and more cultures. Tradition in the architecture of place, this is the architecture that carries the codes of building art over time, an enormous local architecture that is both inherent to the particular time and place, according to Paul Oliver, but also sustainably connected to the ecological context and the available resources, traditional techniques, and local materials. As our colleague Maria Philokyprou says, traditional architecture is a living organism that grows over time, and it cannot be put on ice during conservation. Despite its continuance, it has been changed and transformed according to the social and economic conditions of each era, and it has been adapted to the different conditions of each period of culture. If we go back in time to trace what the residential architecture of the place looked like during the antiquity, we find a very high building culture and architectural schemes and spaces, very similar to those we know preserved from the late 18th and 19th century. In the Mediterranean region of Europe, on the territory of continental ancient Hellas, archaeological remains testify to the diverse depending on the place, in the geographical and urban sense, on the size of the terrain, on the family and its place in society, culture, and well-being. Here we can see the plan of famous Villa of Good Fortune in Olynthus, which composition is very characteristic of a large peristyle courtyard in the center of the composition, passage pastas located longitudinally inside the villa, from which the rooms are accessible. Andronis is a very important part of the plan of the villas and houses. This is actual living area of the house where men and guests were welcomed, Often, andron consists of two rooms. The second one is a form of transition to the interior of the house, to the women's part, gyneconitis. That is the most important room where the fireplace is located. Here we have this place where food is prepared, where the family lives. Actually, in the richer houses, the cooking function sometimes is performed elsewhere, and the fireplace remains only a symbol of domestic comfort and cult. The fireplace is described in this culture as an altar dedicated to Hestia, the goddess of the home, where food and wine were placed. Only men of the house and the closest relatives enter this room. In cases with two courtyards, we have such examples. The second one court has habitually service functions. There were cooking rooms there, storage rooms, room for women's household activities, fabric production, sewing, bedrooms, including the parents' master bedroom. More often, of course, there are plans of houses with fewer rooms, with only one courtyard. Houses in which only a few rooms on the second floor ensure the separation of the female from the male part. The presence of courtyard here, atrium, symmetrically or asymmetrically located, is a main feature of the composition. The courtyard connects the house with the sun, fresh air, the gust of wind, the sky, and serves as the main approach to the house. The courtyard is accessible to guests, and its design is the subject of a special architectural solution and the decorative and art solution. From it are also accessible guest space, so-called andronics, and other rooms in the house. In Roman period, Roman domus shows very similar composition of the house. Here you can see some example from the Villa Ermira. This is a Roman villa in Bulgaria, where the single family is living. Again, we can see the central hall called atrium here, led by, probably I can move this. Okay, but what is very interesting for us is that this the origin of this court is considered to come from the ancient Italian tradition. There is a central hall called atrium, lit by an opening in the roof. The atrium is the center of the composition of the house. It's believed that the plan characteristic of the ritual buildings of the Etruscan period was adopted by the Romans by giving it a civic character. The type of house of the wealthier families is described in detail by Vitruvius in his primary sources. He says, to the rooms around the atrium, there could also be rooms attached to the backside, and domus is close to the street by walls without windows. The life of family is closed inside of the house. Here we can see again Villa Armira on the right side with this atrium in the center of the composition with peristyle and pool inside impluvium in the middle. The residential premises are located around the inner courtyard. The plan of a Roman villa near the village of Pokrovnik, this is this composition. It was discovered a few years ago, and it is really a very, very interesting monument. Shows two separate inner courts, west and east. Rooms of considerable size are grouped around the eastern one, and it is very similar to the composition in houses of Second Bulgarian Kingdom. We will see later this. And the western courtyard was peristyle here, as evidences by the remains of columns and arches found on site. The building had a water supply system and a thermal complex. South of the courtyard, a large entrance portico was discovered here during the excavations. With these features, the western part of the villa has all the characteristics of villa estates from the first half of the 3rd century. Here you can see the main spaces in the Roman villa. Tablinium is this space for guests, and I again will do here. This is tablinium. The other rooms are with common name cubiculum. They're accessible from the atrium, often more discreet position in the corner of the house. We can find space for family. And the peristyle is transformed into an open gallery here, you can see. The sanctuary of the house, lararium, is usually located in the atrium also. It is sometimes difficult to identify the location of fireplaces in Roman houses, since portable heaters are often used, which could easily be placed in any part of the house. Here you can see also some examples of the houses plan compositions from the houses in Bulgaria, and this is a little bit north from Greece in Rhodope mountain, where we see very, very similar compositions like this villa a few centuries later. Archaeological research shows that after the 9th century, cities were developed in naturally protected places. Residential areas were located near the fortified dwelling of the local feudal lord. Function was rationally solved, and the artistic impact was achieved in space and decoration of the houses. Depending on the social status, houses were built with simpler compositions, 1 or 2 rooms, as well as houses with very diverse solutions, with complex plans, with 5, 6 or more rooms. The plan of early medieval Bulgarian capital of Veliki Preslav, or only Preslav, shows the remains of massive residential structures with a central interior space. This is the plan of Preslav, and it is a result of executive geophysical survey of the urban landscape of Preslav. And authors of this survey say that this city, the second capital of the Bulgarian Empire, significantly expands our knowledge of the settlement, its organization, development, and context. By conducting survey across all three elements of the site, the inner city, outer city, and suburbs, we have expanded our knowledge of the site as a whole. Inner city was constructed entirely of stone and characterized by various residential and religious buildings. So it is very useful survey and very useful method to see what is the medieval and early medieval monuments give like information and give their yes, their price. No, not price, but the word I'm missing. Here you can see the structures of public buildings in Preslav. And we can imagine, of course, that these very elaborated and very complicated structures in the public construction, of course, is supported by such construction and in the housing, of course. For example, both from Eastern Roman Byzantine architecture and from synchronous architecture of cities in Second Bulgarian Kingdom, however, show that stable forms of place known from antiquity, place in sense of culture and tradition. The preservation of the tradition was possible through the residential architecture as well as through the monumental architecture of the Second Bulgarian Kingdom, and later through the classical monumental architecture of the Ottoman Empire. Here you can see reconstruction of a Byzantine neighborhood, Pergamon, where houses consist of several rooms, often with portico arranged around the courtyard, set of the irregular pattern of alleys and gut du sac. Similar houses forms have been noted in other urban situations, with the focus of the house away from the street. This was the quote to interesting author. Here, based on Barocco's theories, one could consider locations such as Mount Athos, Ioannina, Prizren, Ohrid, Elena in Bulgaria, and even certain villages of Arbereshi, Italo-Albanian communities of South Italy, as the incunabula, the first examples or origins of Byzantine housing. Probably thanks to their morphological characteristics and geographical isolation, some elements of this building type are still visible in these locations, even though they have been integrated into the local housing cultures. These buildings give subtle glimpses of the everyday Byzantine house. Very interesting work of the Rocco, and this comparison between Byzantine house and houses during already traditional house already during the Ottoman period. Here I'm showing you an exceptional residential building in Melnik, Bulgaria, in which structure the tradition of early medieval residential architecture is enshrined. And the years of constructing of this, of course, it was rebuilt several times, some of these parts of the house, but maybe the older structures are in early 17th century. Let's go to late medieval period. For the time preceding the Ottoman invasion of the Balkans, archaeological information and research testify to residential architecture, which to the highest degree confirms the continuation of the centuries-old residential tradition of the place. During the Middle Ages, in the cultural area of the Mediterranean, these archetype schemes continue to be reproduced, preserving the meaning of the spaces. The peculiarities of the specific place with its characteristic climate, landscape, and prevailing local building resources were reflected in the familiar scheme. Searching for the specificity and sustainability in the architectural image, Nicolae Moutsopoulos defines as the most characteristic of Balkan architecture the house with a cantilevered upper floor. Such type of house is widespread throughout Europe as well. And here you can see examples from Croatia, from Germany, from France, and from Bulgaria. In all these examples, you can see this structure of cantilevered upper floor. Maurice Gerasi takes other perspective. He finds an analogy of this house with earlier concepts of regional Roman architecture through common Byzantine sources. And it's very close to our vision about this. In his study of the traditional forms of French architecture, Christian Lassoure, excuse me for reading the name, may be wrong, gives the following types of plans for country houses: one-room house, longitudinal house, two-story house, house with central corridor, house with an internal covered courtyard. Very significant Lassoure's conclusion is that these types existed and were built at the same time, as well as their derived forms. In all the listed types, we can easily recognize the described antique forms with a longitudinal gallery, peristyle, and pastas, or house with an atrium. Regarding the spread of the prototype of ancient dwelling with an atrium and peristyle, Gerasi writes the following: Mediterranean idea of the hortus clausus, inner courtyard, with surrounding arcade gallery, peristyle, which prevails in both urban and provincial rural architecture of classical antiquity, was spread from southern borders of Thessaly through the Peloponnese to the Aegean Islands, with some specifics in the southwestern Gulf Anatolia. There, as in the type characteristic of Cappadocia, Western Syria, elements of continuity with the Mediterranean concept of the inner court could be found. This is very important quote of Gerasi because you can see all the region of Mediterranean area that we have all common roots and common philosophy of building housing space and houses. Many scholars understand tradition like construction technology and details characteristic of the architectural image. I believe that the nature of the tradition of the place is much more deeper. And again, I will go to Gerasi and to use his words about this. In fact, some details of Ottoman public and residential architecture, such as stone and wooden cantilever beams supporting the upper floor walls, the wooden galleries with colonnades on the floors, the stone ground floors, the characteristic proportions and rhythmic schemes of the windows of the facades originate from Byzantium or even from Roman tradition preserved during the First and Second Bulgarian empires, synchronous during the Byzantine period and spread north to the Danube River. The local widespread forms of the house, which we find in the late Middle Ages, are also evidence of the stability of the traditional knowledge of the arrangement of the house. Residential architecture of 18th and 19th centuries in Bulgaria has been the subject of numerous studies. As a result of the studies of and texts of notable authors, we can certainly distinguish two main types of residential architecture. The first type is traditional architecture, and the second type is residential architecture in cities and feudal complex. The architecture space of the house is a reflection of specific practical considerations and order in space, orientation of residential buildings, and transitional spaces in relation to the directions of the world, and connections with sunlight, connection with specific features of the landscape, natural elements such as rivers, direction of air masses, connection with specific urban structures inherent or formed in the processes of designing the building themselves. Another significant factor is the way of life, traditional values and characteristics of everyday life. The connection with the ancient tradition from the point of view of the concept of internal space is traceable. Life in the Ottoman city is a certain extent resembles life in antiquity and early Middle Ages in Greece, Bulgaria, and other regions on the Balkans. The use of space has the same meaning, and an inner space is the center of the family life and contains a lot of functional elements. In the region of Rhodope Mountains in Bulgaria, there is almost settlement. There is no a settlement that has not given rise to builders over the centuries. The term Rhodope house is generally used to refer to the traditional house in this region, with specific feature in three main geographical divisions of the mountain: central, western, and eastern one. These are multi-story houses that grows in height due to the large elevation of the terrain terrain, and due to the development of its internal space around the internal courtyard, very similar to the atrium archetype. On the ground floor, the courtyard can be completely free from premises, usually with an economic purposes. Residential upper floor could be developed with a central space or with a gallery, or as a combination of both. You can see this ground floor without anything, absolutely empty, and the upper floor with the gallery and spaces around it. And this is arcade colonnade here in the center. Here you can see other examples of these houses. Here you can see from archive sources. This maybe I could say that this heritage is in risk because most of these small villages in the mountain are losing people, and people are going to the big cities, and this heritage, it's so valuable heritage, probably a lot of it is in very big danger. Another examples of this in this region. Again, you can see the portico in ground floor and open space on the etage, and this is the so-called main space where the guests are welcomed, and other spaces are for especially for the family. Probably I can yes, I can mention the names of these traditional names of these spaces. Atrium, here we say poton. This is the name. The main space with a fireplace where the family lives is called by the name of the entire building, house or koshta. The most important room of the family, as well as the representative room for guests, whose prototype is the andron in classical antiquity, called here kiosk, probably from Persian kushk, Persian word for this. And there is a fireplace in each room. You can see this fireplace in each room because we are speaking about a house in the mountain anyway. Few examples from the Stara Planina. This is our Balkan region. Here, these examples are more from the end of 17th, beginning of 18th century. Because of that, you can see the difference. They are more geometrical and more elaborated, but the sense of every space is the same, like in this tradition about which we are talking about. Some of the oldest residential buildings dating from the beginning of the 17th century are preserved in the village of Arbanasi, near the capital of Second Bulgarian Kingdom. The village was founded, according to Felix Kanitzer, around the 14th century. Kanitz mentions a legend that the village was founded by Greek flags from Epirus. In a document, probably we have only two documents. In one of them, in a document from 1538, a Ferman from Sultan Suleiman II, it is described as an Albanian village with certain privileges. It was also mentioned as a dwelling of Romans. So the history is not so clear about this type of houses, but it doesn't matter. These houses are built by stone, surrounded by high walls. Each house looks like a monastery, and each house has a bathhouse, but they bring water from elsewhere. These last words are also from the document of the Church St. Nicolaus from the end of 18th century. The type of house with corridor, according to Georgi Danchev, this is the researcher of Arbanasi. He says that this type with corridor, which is one of the three main type of houses in Arbanasi, this is a very large two-story house with impressive architecture, with veranda, hayet in local dialect. It referred to open room, and an odaya, spaces with representative functions for welcoming guests, a dark corridor, hurizma, from which one enters all the other rooms of the house. Hashevo, this is the room with fireplace and dining room, and also the space of Proust, room for sleeping, heated by a fireplace also. In some examples, we also have different space with oven, room for with oven for bread preparing. This is very, very impressive buildings, and we again find the familiar traditional scheme of the male part, the open space, atrium, pastas, and peristyle, and andron in the spaces of hayet and odaya. Here we have hayet and odaya. This space hurizma probably is adequate to the pastas in traditional architecture from antiquity, as well as the female part, gyneconitis. This is here with name Hashevo, the living room with a fireplace, and Proust, the bedroom, which we have sometime the other place. There is, in some examples, there is also a small room for the woman in labor. And all these spaces and space organization speaks about very, very high level of way of life of these people. Here we can see other examples of this house, and the scheme is the same. Okay, I'm at the end of my presentation. I'm showing you in this picture houses again from Rhodope, on West Rhodope region, and they are very, very near to the tradition of the antiquity, I'm sure. The purpose of the present study was to focus again on the available information about the tradition of residential building in the cultural area of Balkans from antiquity to the late Middle Ages. In the Balkans, there was a centuries-old continuous tradition in the residential architecture, and architectural archetypes known from antiquity had been interpreted in the similar or of more complex forms during the following ages. Traditional construction is anonymous. Architecture is created by craftsmen originating from a specialized professional community that is engaged in the preservation and transmission of knowledge and adheres to the traditionally used archetype forms. Something more, in traditional architecture, every member of the community keeps the tradition of the place. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Miryana, for this great presentation.
Thank you, Miryana. It was extraordinary, the things that we saw. If I may, Zoe, if I may say a few things.
Please.
As a Greek, I mean the Greeks that are in this session, I think we saw many images that feel very ours. I mean, we saw these buildings before in our villages, in both northern, mainly northern Greece. So it's very familiar. It's also the typologies you showed us are really familiar. And I must say that in the end, I was very fascinated by the language, which is also the same, even if we realize that it's a mixture of Greek, Roman, Ottoman, Bulgarian, Slav, or anything else. And it's a language that all of the people in this area, we use the common, it is common, and we use the exact same words for the same spaces. So it's a great lesson, what you taught us today. And thank you very much for all this. I have so many things to say, but maybe if the attendees have any questions that need to be asked, and you know, maybe we can, if anyone wants to say anything or ask a question to Dr. Yordanova.
Hello, Katerina, it's Alkisti.
Hello, Alkisti, how are you? Alkisti,
Fine.
the doctor in architecture as well.
First of all, I would like to say congratulations to Professor Miryana. It was so interesting to listen to this lecture, and I was really fascinated and moved by the so many common characteristics that I found to our culture and to typology and morphology of the houses that you showed and explained to us. And I think we have a common language, architectural, and both as a language in real terms. I would just like to add a very small how to say comment. This language of these houses is so common, and it's so much part of our tradition that people who want to many times in Greece, and most of it in northern Greece, because these typologies that you showed and the morphologies with the Sachnisi, with the upper extended balcony upstairs, are for us are both in northern Greece, are more for northern Greece. People who want to build a new house, but they want really to make a house that will speak to their heart in Greece, many times build such a house with new materials of reinforced concrete, for example, but they keep the same image. I don't know if I communicate what I want to say, but it's such a strong tradition, these kind of houses, that people want to extend them to contemporary architecture, even though they are not using the same materials, and the materials they are using do not work the same way they would. So thank you very, very much for this so insightful lecture that we learned so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, may I say a few words only? This was my pleasure also, because I know that we share one culture, we share one vision of everyday life, of a philosophy of the world. So because of that, we see that in this material culture, the expression is so close and so touched, and we understand all this, because if we have a possibility to travel with you during the Rhodope Mountain or during the Balkans, we will see the same architecture like in North Greece, of course. This is the same culture. This is the same culture on the Balkans. And the language is the same. And I'm sure that this tradition was kept during the ages, during the epochs.
I can see Vasilis Evangelidis. Dr. Evangelidis, you have a question as well, or you want to discuss?
No. First of all, thank you for establishing this initiative, and I will be very glad to take part in the second cycle. And of course, to our presenter for a very thorough presentation. And I will speak basically from an archaeological point of view. Actually, I was surprised, but this tradition, we know now that goes so back in time, because now that we have new readings of the archaeological data, we can find the same examples in classical architecture, because residential architecture was not only the houses in Olynthos or the Greek, Southern Greek type houses, but we have houses in Vergina with the same veranda type, houses in Vardarsky Reed in Gortynia in North Macedonia that they didn't have the internal court because they were more, let's say, accustomed to the winter conditions of Macedonia. And so basically, this seems to me a tradition that goes back in time. I don't know if, and I don't claim that it's an uninterrupted tradition, but definitely there's something in the landscape, there's something in the sense of place that dictates this kind of form. So I found that very interesting, and hopefully this is what I will present to you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Evangelidis. And Zoe Tsirtsoni, you want to say something.
Yes, if I open my microphone, it's better. It is my turn to thank you again, Miryana. And speaking again, myself also as an archaeologist, I would like to draw attention on 2 points. Actually, no, 1 point and 1 question. The point that I find particularly interesting in the examples you showed us is the importance of the upper story for the life of a residence, the second floor. And as a prehistoric archaeology specialist, I must say that we are usually limited to the picture from the ground floor in general in our periods, and even in classical archaeology, but especially for our prehistoric archaeology, we are already very happy if we have a full ground floor. So I think it is an essential part, very useful knowledge for both archaeologists and architects to understand this complementarity and this sometimes even contradictory aspect, vision of the ground floor, which, as you said, is sometimes completely empty. We could see no space differentiation, no space distinction, and the upper floor, which is very rich, very complex, full of life. It is indeed something that I find is greatly useful to see. And the second remark or question, actually, that I would like to address to you as a specialist is about, indeed, the geographical definition of the place. We all talk about the Balkans here, but actually you showed us speaking especially about the idea of the internal courtyard, the hortus clausus, that this is a feature which is shared, widely shared all over the Mediterranean, and that it is deeply influenced and being adopted by Ottoman residential architecture later. So I'm wondering, what is your opinion about the fluidity or the definition, the geographical definition of this place, whether it is rather continental, let's say, Balkan, or looking to the sea, coastal Mediterranean, let's say. What is your feeling, your idea?
Of course, it is a little bit, okay, maybe it's clear because under these big empires, Roman Empire and Turkish Empire, we can easily answer this question from one side. But because of that, I included France, because France wasn't in the Ottoman Empire. And this is interesting that we can talk about Mediterranean architecture, not political boundaries and political rules, because of course there is a fluidity and in the borders of these political states, but from the other side we speak about the place, and for me it's wider sense of meaning, like the formation of the empires. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think Professor Papagianni, I can see the hand.
I don't know if you hear me. Okay.
Now, yes.
I would like to congratulate you because you gave us a panorama of traditional houses of Bulgaria, common culture, I think. I think the question I have is, it's easily understandable that this type of houses are more adaptable to climatic conditions of the area, Balkan area, South Mediterranean area. And some principles of construction should be selected and take the advantages of this knowledge and apply today, because otherwise, why do you keep these traditional houses? Because have something to teach us. They teach us. They use local materials for the construction, for example. They are adaptable to the climate conditions. So we must teach from their architecture. And to do this and to transfer this to next generations, I think the first step is to record, or to, as we say now, to select all this in a database in order to give these as heritage to next generations. So I would like to congratulate all of you because you are involved in this effort to this direction, I think. Highlight this traditional type architecture.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Papagianni from the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, civil engineer and chemist. I don't know if we have any more questions. No. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much for being here. Again, we are inviting you to our next dialogue on Monday, next Monday, I think. Yes, next Monday, the 5th of May. The speaker will be Vasiliki Pachta. She is a doctor, architect, and conservator from the Laboratory of Building Materials, the School of Civil Engineering in Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And the subject will be the technological evolution of the building materials and techniques, which is very wide and very interesting. It begins from ancient times up to pre-industrial times. So hopefully we can all meet again there and share some new thoughts and have new dialogues. Thank you very much all for being here today.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice time. Bye.
Good evening. See you next week.
See you next
See
week.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.